Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, we have your Payback recap, your all-out recap. Jey Uso is back on Raw. Chad Gable takes Gunther to the limit. CM Punk gets fired. We're going to talk about it, and then we're never going to say his name ever again. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast. I wanted that to be like Vince talking about Benoit.
He who shall not be named ever again.
Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Mark. So welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. I'm looking for the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to break kayfabe. And sitting directly across from me, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
FLORITASTATE. For the state, for the state, for the state. Woo! We're back! We're back on a national stage. It was a great fucking Sunday night. I had to watch both For the State, LSU, and All Out at the same time. I love me some Michael Wallace Steels. That was a great fucking idea. Thank you very much for putting that in my head. And on that lovely note, I'll ask their congregation to bow their heads as I read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 324, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saith, hashtag boo the heels. It's all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. The holy trinity of BFR. So I usually take notes on the week, and I usually do one side of AEW, and then I do the other side of WWE, and I literally ran out of room. I'm like, thanking God that Dynamite wasn't a real deep show because I had the corner little right-hand side for Dynamite. Your boy was running out of room. Plenty of shit to talk about this week.
Lots of wrestling out there in Portland, Oregon.
Zach, 5'8", 250 pounds. Big fan of Monday Night Raw.
We have two beers. Zach Pullman, what's going on? Two beers.
What's in the house?
Hoisted by my own punchline. Oh, man.
That is a fun little clip from Zach's stand-up set that he had a couple weeks ago. That will be shared on the socials sometime soon, but quite a bit of fun. I can't wait for everybody else to see it. How are you, Zach?
I'm doing well. I wish I could match your guys' energy. I'll work on it. I just got done staring at Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations for the last 7 hours. So I'm on my first beer, so we'll get there. But I did create new socials for comedy, and you'll love this. I got tired of trying to figure out variations on my name because most of them were taken, and a couple of them by me with my personal socials. So my new handles for Instagram and Facebook for my new accounts are at ITYSL fan. So I think you should leave fan. That's what I got. So feel free to give me a follow. There's no content yet. So
okay. Repeat that one more time.
At ITYSL fan.
There you go. So, like I said, we're coming at you from beautiful St. Charles, Missouri. It is just about a perfect night. It's one of those nights where there's no weather, so it's very nice to be out here. Tons of wrestling to get to. So,
First things first, let's get this fucking thing out of the way.
let's get to that 3 count.
Okay, man. All right, man. See, you gonna keep doing this shit. It's gonna be hard to bring him back down to the world we call Earth, motherfucker.
Man, I watched it. That's also from Zach's stand-up. I watched it. I was like, I need 2. And then I was like, man, there's so many in here I could pull out as drops. It would be so much fun.
All bullshit aside, I will double down on what Bill said. It's a 7-minute set, and I wanted to look away just because I know who Zach is. I've seen him multiple times. I just wanted to look away and see if he's just as funny without me watching the actual set. It's just as funny. It's like literally a Thursday night in 7 minutes compacted.
We don't want to build it up too much, but we're excited for everybody to see it. So
Yeah.
JCB, what's that one count?
Jeez Louise, where to start? We'll just do it the way we normally do it, just chronological order. We're going to fly over to Pittsburgh, PA, home of the six-time, hopefully seven-time Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers. Going to talk a little Payback 6-match card, with John Cena being the special guest host. I thought about you when John Cena. What's up?
Sorry to interrupt. Is Michael Vick over there? What's going on in the background?
I know, man. It's just the dog's going nuts. Sorry about that.
Is it your dog? No,
It's
fine.
one of my dog and the two neighbor dogs, and then there's dogs back there too. Yeah,
Okay.
Michael Vick's here. We got the.
So fucking funny.
We got the
Michael Vick. No, the dogs wouldn't be running around here barking. They'd be running around here dead.
or they'd be tied up to the. You know what? Let's just keep going. Okay.
The ASPCA would be making a house call here if that was the case.
Another one. I never even heard that one.
You're welcome. I'll be here for the next couple hours. I'm nowhere near as good as Zach. That's the extent of my comedy. Biggest takeaway. Honestly, I don't think there's a real huge takeaway. Judgment Day winning the tag titles. I guess that to me was the swerve, if there was a swerve, which there shouldn't have been, considering the stip as a no holds barred, no DQ match. Basically should have been a slam dunk for Judgment Day upon retrospect. But let's just break down the card. We'll start at the top. Probably the most surprising match of the bunch is the one I was looking forward to the least, that arguably delivered the most, was the curtain jerker. Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus in the steel cage. Like I said, I have very, very low expectations for this. The feud, for me, started to wane as it progressed to the point where I was a little pissed that this got on to the Payback card and Gunther and Chad Gable didn't. So, obviously, coming into it, not very excited about this, but the ladies changed my mind, and I will give them all the credit in the world. Becky Lynch goes over in a barn burner curtain jerker to start off Payback. I thought Trish Stratus, this is probably her best match of the bunch in this Becky-Trish little feud that they've had going on. So kudos to both women in that scenario. But I thought, obviously, Becky Lynch was the right person to go over. Right one did go over. So in that scenario, for something that I did not have a lot of expectations for, this was a very positive start to Payback.
Zach, what'd you think of this match?
Man, this match was awesome, and I didn't give a single shit about it going in. And this was like one of the best WWE women's matches, one of the best just American women's matches of the year. I do think it's funny that they think that like blading is like barbaric or something, and they won't let them do it, but they'll just let these like beautiful women just bash each other's head into a fucking steel cage till they have like giant hematomas that finally rupture. Like, Jesus Christ, they put it all out there.
That knot on Trish's head was starting to grow as that match was going on. I was like, God damn. Make sure we got an ice pack in the back.
I mean, it did do the typical WWE thing, and I wouldn't say just WWE, like AEW does it too, where like you have a cage match to keep people out, and then that person eventually gets in. Yeah, this was fantastic, and I was like, all right, we got ourselves a nice little PLE here. Like, I was watching late. I didn't have any spoilers. I went camping last weekend, and I was like, oh, this is a nice little treat getting back to civilization and showering for the first time in 4 days. But it was kind of all downhill from here, honestly. Spoiler alert.
Oh, I don't know if it was all downhill from here. This was a really good match, though. WWE does this thing where anytime it looks like it's going to be an underwhelming card, they over-deliver. It didn't always used to be this way. But this was a really great match. They put on a hell of an effort, and it was very entertaining to watch. Very just hella fun. I thought that Trish Stratus was great in this match, and she was the one that I was worried about pulling her weight, so to speak. So, fucking awesome. I loved it.
It was, like I said, didn't have a lot of expectations, but dare I say, over-delivered, to say the least. John Cena's segment comes out and basically sets up the next match where Miz confronts John Cena. They have some words. LA Knight comes out. So now we have the LA Knight Miz match with John Cena as the special guest referee. This was, as much as I don't mind John Cena coming back for whatever length of time this is and whomever he feuds with, that's great. I don't necessarily care about that. I did have a problem with him being the special guest referee here, especially in a scenario where LA Knight kind of needs this dub. It didn't necessarily have the best optics in the world where you have John Cena as the ref. Neither here nor there. It did deliver a little drama into the match as LA Knight and John Cena did have some run-ins with each other, but nothing where we got fisticuffs. LA Knight gets the dub in the end. He and John Cena shake hands on the ramp, which is essentially the John Cena rub, so to speak. So
LA Knight hesitated, though.
He did hesitate.
Wasn't into it.
No, and that's what I did like about that. It wasn't, oh, yeah, John Cena's giving me his seal of approval. He said some words before he actually shook John Cena's hand.
He said, we're the same age.
And I'm going way better, bitch. But no, good, not great. Right person definitely went over, especially if you have any sort of plans for LA Knight to be a mid-card champion. Obviously, in this case, we've been talking about him becoming the U.S. champion for quite some time. He said it out of his mouth, so obviously that's the end game. If there was any shot of him becoming that U.S. champion, he needed to win this match in particular. So kudos to both guys. Like I said, it was good. Nothing that there was scale breaking by any stretch of the imagination.
What you think, Zach?
Yeah, I think I said it went all downhill because this was after it. Like the Cena thing was so silly. Like, Miz comes out and he announces he's a special referee. Then Miz comes out and he's like, when you're the host, he's like, you don't just say you're the special referee. And Cena's just like, well, I'm the special referee. And I was like, okay, like it was just so silly, and it didn't do anything for me. And then the match didn't do anything for me either. LA Knight seems like a great feud because they're both really good promos, and Miz can lose, and he's Teflon in the sense that he can just lose and lose and lose. But watching this match was like eating just non-fat plain yogurt for 15 minutes straight. I just never did anything for me. It was not pleasant at all. John Cena didn't add anything to it. He could have been anybody. Like, just Cena being there did nothing. And then, LA Knight wins the match, and then Cena, shakes his hand afterward and, endorses him. Fucking LA Knight should have laid Cena out. Just fucking laid him out.
It would have been fucking awesome.
I bet you would love that.
Yeah, I thought that the segment before the match, I liked it. I would have liked it a lot better if John Cena wasn't in it. And the match itself, I liked it. I would have liked it a lot better if The Miz and LA Knight weren't in it. But overall, it was a pretty good segment. I kind of liked it.
How does that even make
sense? What Zach said is exactly what I just told my wife, because I didn't really watch this match. I just heard about what happened. I kind of watched it, but we were at a wedding, and we got back to my father-in-law's house, and I had to watch it quietly on my iPhone while Aaron was sleeping next to me. And so, I really didn't watch it, So I just put it on while I was eating, and Erin was in there with me, and I was trying to explain to her why LA Knight was so over. And she knows who The Miz is, and she knows who Cena is. She has no idea who LA Knight is. And then I was watching the match. I was like, holy shit, this sucks. I was like, this is some tough enough ass shit. He did... LA Knight did some kind of screwdriver DDT off the second rope or something, and Corey Graves goes, that was innovative. And I was like, no, was it? What the fuck is he talking about? It might have been innovative in 1950. But anyway, I mean, it's fine. Get LA Knight the win. The hate is growing inside of me for John Cena. It's exponential. It's building off of itself. And now it's like a tapeworm inside me. And now every time I see him and he does that overacting, stupid face where he was asking Miz if he has any help for him as a host, it just drives me up a fucking wall. I can't stand him. So fucking cute. Anyway, yeah, what was next?
Next up, Austin Theory gets his rematch. Well, I shouldn't say gets his rematch. He won the right for his rematch against Rey Mysterio for the U.S. Heavyweight Championship. Nothing special here. Rey goes over. I think we've all kind of talked about the decline of Austin Theory, so this to me was pretty much, it could have easily been a Stone Cold Lead Pipe lock of the week, just because we're clearly going away from Austin Theory as the mid-card champion. Now where he goes from here, one only knows. From that point, Rey's and Santos's relationship is more so the focus, and that probably will be the focus going forward. Because, like I said, I think at some point Santos is going to realize that Rey is in his spot, and that's where the snap begins. Neither here nor there. This was fine for what it was, a nice mid-card match. Like I said, nothing special here.
Yeah, this was just the most milquetoast, boring fucking Rey Mysterio match you could ever have. I think Austin Theory.
I thought he was just on. I thought you were just on repeat there from the last match. You called the last one. You called the last one non-fat yogurt, and you called this one milk toast.
I'm on a breakfast kick right now. Austin Theory was either just ribbing somebody, or he was just trying to set a trivia record for like longest chin lock on a premium live event. It was fucking boring.
Previously owned by Randy Orton.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of a silent competition with a guy who's not even fucking on TV right now.
But when Randy Orton did it, he was like trolling the crowd, though.
Yeah, and Austin Theory's just trolling me because I'm wasting my time with this shit.
That's right.
Just having these two matches back to back, where it was miserable. It kind of soured me on a lot of the rest of the show, honestly. I was really hyped up, and then I was just fucking bored, and then at this point, I'm just kind of like, I'm not tuned out, I'm still watching, but I'm like, not enthused.
Yeah, when I got back to the house after the wedding, I went straight to the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match. So, like, that didn't happen to me. I'll admit I did not watch this match. They need to turn Santos.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
I think ultimately we will get it. It's just a matter of time. Tiffany Stratton, Becky Lynch backstage, setting up what would be a video clip on NXT after the Tiffany Stratton title defense. Becky Lynch is challenging Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's Championship next Tuesday night. So for those who don't watch NXT, that might be a reason to do so. For those who do watch NXT, or in this case, he really likes it, I'm growing to like it.
Wesley versus Dragunov tomorrow night in a number one contenders match also. Or not tomorrow night, next week, I mean.
I'm like, tomorrow night?
You know what I meant. I meant next episode.
I'm like, sitting there like, damn, SmackDown got real interested. Something to look forward to on NXT. Stratton versus Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch not winning the NXT Women's Championship basically keeps her away from the Grand Slam. Something to keep in the back of the mind. Next up, the aforementioned tag team unified title match between Judgment Day being Damian Priest and Finn Balor versus KO and Sammy, the reigning tag team champions, in a no DQ match. As I said it earlier beforehand, watching as the match started to progress and once Dominic came out, I was like, God damn, this is how they're going to win it. This is really fucking stupid. I couldn't believe I did not pick Judgment Day, especially in a scenario like this. I thought this was probably the match of the night. Arguably this and Shinsuke Seth Rollins, I thought were the two best matches, depending on what you like, what you were invested coming into the match is basically, I think, which match you liked more. This match was just train wreck of four motherfuckers just doing all kinds of bonker shit. KO being the MVP, just jumping off of that balcony, doing that swanton. I was just like, holding my breath that he actually clipped the table versus missing it completely. I'm glad to see that he's upright and in one piece. From that point, I thought the match was, like I said, arguably the match of the night, depending on what you like. Judgment Day goes over after basically emptying the cupboard, including J.D. Madonna as well, coming in to help out and get him some. Dominic basically helps out and seals the deal, but Judgment Day basically helps out Priest and Finn Balor win the unified tag team titles. A little surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised. A part of me didn't want to see this end with KO and Sammy, but then the other part of me is like, KO and Sammy do feel like they need to go their own way on a singles run, whatever that may be. Seth is going to need opponents at some point. If Priest cash in at some point and successfully cash in, now you have more so of opponents for Damian Priest. So ultimately, I wasn't mad. I was surprised, but pleasantly surprised.
Zach.
Yeah, same. I honestly can't believe I didn't really think of it, especially with the setting of a Philadelphia street fight. But yeah, this was my second favorite match of the night after the women's cage match. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Kind of typical street fight WWE stuff at the beginning. But it really kind of went into the next level whenever Dominic came out and then they popped back up out of the crowd wearing the Penguins jerseys. And then KO took that nasty, nasty bump. Oh, my God. His tailbone's got to be hurting. But, yeah, it also furthers the Judgment Day storyline. It's really cool. They're the new bloodline. They got all the gold, except for, like, the main belt. But Damian Priest has the money in the bank. So, yeah, this was a lot of fun.
This was what I wish they would have done with the Hurt Business the first time around, is just have those guys draped in gold because this looks badass, and this is very cool. And you're right, Zach. Like, once it happened, it's like, you know what? When we were all doing our predictions, we all picked KO and Sami Zayn, and I don't remember having that much consternation about it. I was like, yep, it's KO and Sami Zayn. And then when it happened, can we give KO some time off? I know he's a little beat up, and then so Sami Zayn has this thing with. It looks like they're gonna have a story with Jey Uso, maybe a little bit. Not saying that they're gonna be fighting each other, but they might be on each other's side. But this match, to me, fucking 4.5 stars, man. This match, A+. I loved the shit out of this match. Sami Zayn and KO are maybe underrated at this point. Like, they are clicking on all cylinders. They were awesome. This match was awesome. They were against two game dudes. What do you give me that look for?
I don't think you can call them underrated at this point.
I think you can call Kevin Owens underrated.
No. Hell no. No, you cannot.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess this is just me saying how much I love Kevin Owens.
Just go with that. You cannot call him underrated. This
match fucking ruled. But yeah, I love having Judgment Day draped in gold.
Sorry, I was looking at my notes. Grayson Waller effect was next with Cody Rhodes as the guest. As much as as much as I liked Grayson Waller, this wasn't necessarily the greatest segment. It basically sets up the opening segment for, I shouldn't say that. Jey Uso returns to, I guess, WWE. He's going over to Raw, and then obviously compensation from Adam Pearce's mouth is going back to SmackDown. We'll talk about that in a second. Jey Uso comes out and ultimately super kicks the dog shit out of Grayson Waller right in the motherfucking mouth. I will be lying if I said I did not laugh out loud when this happened. This was like 3, 4 in the morning, so I know the whole apartment complex heard me when he got kicked in the mouth, but I thought it was the best, the high part of the segment. So coming out of this, the main thing to know is, number one, Grayson Waller, still love your brother. I'm glad that he's in the ring, so that way he can get some of the heat from the talking segments into the rings so he can get heat in ring heat on his character. And then number two, most importantly, Jey Uso leaving SmackDown on the way to Raw, so that breaks up the Usos for the moment. Now, from that point, if we're going to get Jay and Jimmy at WrestleMania, that's going to be a little bit of a trick. And then the bigger question, the compensation coming back to SmackDown is that one Cody Rhodes.
What do you think, Zach?
I mean, sticking with my breakfast analogies, this is like when you order a full English and then there's like a tomato on there, and you're like, oh, I fucking forgot there was a tomato on here, even though it was advertised. And you're like, just fucking get it out of here. Like, I don't need this now. Just give it to me later. Like, they could just put their shit on fucking Monday Night Raw. Like, I didn't need this. I got shit to do on the weekend. I don't fucking need this. It's fine. Just fucking move it. You got 5 hours of TV to fucking fill up. Just get this the fuck off the pay-per-view.
Didn't see it. Next.
The
You
women's.
did all the right things here.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm the only professional one around here. Clearly,
Am I the only professional?
Yeah, exactly. Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley for the WWE Women's Heavyweight Championship. This was probably the one that I said it on PSP this afternoon. I don't mind a predictable match, but the match needs to be good, dare I say, great to elevate the match, so that way I don't necessarily mind the predictable finish. This just didn't do it, at least in my eyes. Raquel Rodriguez is going to be a women's champion at some point. It's just down the line. It's not happening here.
In NWA.
No, in WWE. These are all the building blocks, the foundation to her story, to where when she ultimately does win it, it will be her crowning achievement. Now, that being said, I didn't think this match was bad, but I didn't think it was good enough to get away from a predictable finish.
What do you think about it, Zach?
Yeah, it was fine, predictable, but they had a pretty fun match, and I think the only thing that made me suffer a little bit was crowd isn't necessarily looking for like a competitive match from Rhea, but at the same time, Raquel is like a formidable opponent. Like, especially she's like one of the few women that is like the same size as Rhea, so she can give a competitive match. I just think that the crowd really likes seeing mommy just fucking smash these fucking little bitches around.
Yeah.
And they just weren't as into it for this. But they had a good match.
I disagree in terms of Raquel Rodriguez. I don't think that in kayfabe style she is that she's even in Rhea's league yet. And I think that at the beginning of this match, especially, the moment seemed a little big for her. She didn't look comfortable to me.
Okay, then that's what I said. No way that she was going to win this match, number one. Number two, I'm not going to sit here and go into the psychological portion of was this bit too big of the moment. I didn't think it was. If it was a slow start, like you think it, better choice of words, was it a slow start, or you just think the whole match was just too big for her?
I thought that Raquel Rodriguez was not very good in this match.
Okay, that's where I disagree.
I'm coming in with my own preconceived stuff because I've been tough on her in the past, and because I'm not that big of a fan necessarily, but I did go in with those thoughts, and I was disappointed in this match. I was not disappointed in Rhea Ripley at all.
I don't think the question was Rhea. The question was always going to be Raquel Rodriguez. I don't think it was nearly as bad as you thought it was. That's just me. By no means, once again, was this a scale breaker match by any stretch, but I thought it was good enough to be a passable match. The crowd wasn't invested into it, and that's half the problem to begin with. Now, from that point, whomever's in the ring, in this case, Rhea and Raquel, are going to have to tell their story to get us invested into it, which they didn't do. If you want to blame Raquel Rodriguez for it, your prerogative to do so. I just don't think that there was enough being done. Not a great build. The person across from Rhea wasn't credible enough to make us believe, oh, shit, this might actually happen. And then the match itself was flat.
Okay. I'm good on this match. What's next?
Main event, obviously, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I would, like I said before, leading up to this match, very intrigued, very invested in this particular Shinsuke heel persona. This felt like more so of a authentic Shinsuke versus the let's trade dick kicks between he and AJ Styles, heel Shinsuke. Arguably second, third best match of the night, depending on what you have ranked up there. I thought this was really good. Shinsuke going after the back, I thought was obviously the smart move, and I wanted to see that come into play, which it did. Seth felt like when he won, it felt like he snuck out the victory, and that's the first thing I felt like in my mind. And I was like, okay, so I know this is not going to end like this. So I waited like the old NXT TakeOver days. You wait until the screen is black. So I just sat there and I waited, and it went black. I was like, oh, so that's it? And I think that to me was like something that was just left me.
But then they did it
off camera after the fact, and they showed it on Monday night.
Right.
So why didn't you just
why wasn't that on the show? Yes.
So that to me, I thought it wasn't crucial enough to take away from the match itself, because clearly this is after the match. But I thought it would have been a good enough cliffhanger to where now it's like, oh, Monday night is now must see versus, if you didn't like the match, now it fell flat and you don't have a reason to watch because you didn't see this part.
I'm with you 1,000%.
I thought the match was, to me, this was probably my second favorite match of the night. Women's match 1, Seth Shinsuke 2, tag match 3.
What you think, Zach?
Look, he's on the fucking stage. I mean, damn.
I know.
You act like he's off like 5th place and shit.
I let it go.
He got a bronze.
I just made a little noise.
Little noise.
I inhaled him off. Zach, what'd you think?
Yeah, I would put this at number 3. I think maybe they're holding something back because they're going to do it again. Although I just feel like Seth is fantastic, and I feel like he puts it out there every night, no matter who he's wrestling. He is wrestling. He's main event Seth Rollins. And I don't feel like a lot of people rise to his level, and I think Shinsuke could have, but I just don't feel like he did. And maybe it was because they're going to do it again or something. But sometimes you see a match, and you're like, holy shit, those guys left it all out there. Like, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, like in the Tokyo Dome, and they're like, oh, yeah, you thought that was good. Like, we held a lot of shit back. And you're like, no way. And then they have another match, and you're like, oh, you guys did. But I just don't understand. Maybe when I put these two guys together, I expected more out of this match, and I don't put it on Seth. I just kind of put it on Shinsuke, but it was fine, but it wasn't like a pay-per-view main event. It never felt like it reached that level.
Everything was cool about this match to me, except for Shinsuke not going over. I thought, like, while I was watching, I was like, you know what? They really should put Shinsuke over here. Like, they told him a good enough story about Rollins having a weakness. Shinsuke's a good enough wrestler that he was really focusing on the back. Seth was selling the shit out of it, really sold it in the last 5-10 minutes of the match and afterwards really well. It's like, man, they could have pulled the trigger right there, and it would have been surprising, but it would have been the right move, because I think that this Shinsuke character and letting him cut promos in his native tongue and just having subtitles, I think it's getting over, and I think he's a believable heavyweight champion. I wish they would have done it, but alas, I think that he's going to win at Fastlane. That's my early prediction. I'm going to ask you guys a philosophical question. Is it possible for a main roster WWE match to win the beefer for match of the year in 2023 or 2024? Does the style of a match just not allow for a match of the year candidate? Like a true, because it got me thinking when Zach was talking about Ospreay and Omega. I was thinking about Ospreay and Omega, and I was thinking how my expectations for that were so much higher than Rollins Nakamura. But if it was Rollins Nakamura at All In, my expectations would be through the fucking roof. So my question is it even possible in a world where AEW and New Japan exist for a WWE main roster match to reach match of the year heights? Jason, what do you think?
I say yes, and half the battle is the story that's being told, and I don't think that's just exclusive to WWE. That's AEW, that's New Japan, that's any promotion. If you're telling a good enough story, that's going to get us invested. Now, the match itself, to me, is the bonus, but it's still an important cog of this whole thing. That's the payoff. So to answer the question, I say yes. KO and Sammy versus the Usos, I think, is one of those matches that if you're not going to put it on your short list for match of the year, it's a tag team match of the year. It can be done. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's never going to happen. You just have to – the right story has to be told. People have to invest, and then the match itself has to deliver.
Credit where credit's due. That match ruled. Zach, what do you think?
Just if you say like 2023, just in a world where you could have an Osprey Omega, I just gotta say, just like Detective Crashmore, just be like, not that year. Any like Jason said, it's gonna be more like story investment, match quality as far as like in ring. Just the styles are just different, so they're not gonna be allowed to elevate to that kind of transcendent level, but what they can do is elevate the story and get that investment going. I think WWE's proven that they can do that. But, man, I mean, that Osprey Omega match might be the fucking best match I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I didn't mean 2023, like specifically the matches that we've seen. I mean like the Royal 2023, like just the environment. The environment that we live in.
I think you could, like, something that's long term. I think they had it with the Bloodline. I don't think they have it anymore. I think like Sami Zayn winning the title in Montreal might have done it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point,
dude. It's over. Let it go.
Yeah, but so my answer to this question is nuance, and I'll try not to go on too long, but I have a lot of thoughts about this. So the question was, can a WWE main roster match in the wrestling culture of 2023, is it even possible for a WWE main roster match to be match of the year? The answer is no. Let's get to that 2 count.
Yes, sir.
2 beer. Oh, up next with the 2 count, we have
Zach, 5'8", 250 pounds. Big fan of Monday Night Raw.
What you got, Zach?
That's my dog.
Oh, man, that's so creepy out of context.
You know that drop's never going away, right?
Oh, man, I'm going to have so many more. You said the words Hyman Hamburglar on that.
I wanted that to be the AKA.
Yeah, Vice is here.
I wanted that to be the
Vice
AKA
sent me,
tonight.
like right after Zach sent it to us last night, Vice sent me AKA Hyman Hamburglar. And I thought about it and I was like, man, that's not going to make sense to anybody. And it just sounds crazy. In the context of Zach's comedy, it makes sense, but just out of the blue.
Oh, my God.
Fuck the marks. I was just trying to shout out my boy.
Right. All right, what's the 2
most interesting
Go ahead.
that you can come up with.
You said that shit, boy. I about fell out my chair. I was like, man, hell no.
So, let's go with All Out. We won't talk about Collision. Really, the only thing that happened on Collision was Punk announcing, or Tony Khan announcing that CM Punk has been fired.
That'll be the 3 count. We can skip that and just talk about the show.
Yeah. So, I mean, Dennis Rodman was there. I don't know how relevant that is. I know they were in Chicago, and Tony was a big WCW fan, and when WCW was good, as was I. But man, Dennis Rodman is an old man anymore. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, nigga, so, you ain't lying. That motherfucker look rough.
That's a lot of. I mean, you can't spend too much time in North Korea and be okay, man.
He was looking Kim Jong Il. Anyway.
Fucking A.
Hey, but
That's really good.
It's because they have no soul.
That's really good.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm trying to find my new drops here. Shit. Go ahead.
So we had the 0 hour, and we had a battle royal. Just a battle royal.
Yeah.
But won, so got something. And we donated $50,000, or Tony Khan donated $50,000 to Chicago Public Schools. So it was a nice little pop. Good thing, and it also was thematically appropriate for Adam Page's character being a former public school teacher. So pretty neat.
I did not know that. I did not know he was a high school teacher.
Yeah. Can you imagine, like, those, like, and because he's, like, still, like, probably barely 30, those fucking, like, he probably had so many girls just crushing on him so much, this hunky cowboy, the fucking pro wrestler, like, on the weekends. Jesus Christ.
It makes sense they taught high school, though, because he cuts a promo like somebody's shop project.
Damn.
We'll get there.
Hey, been catching strays and shit. I mean, Swerve already beat the man down on national TV, man. You just coming over
man.
just like it's Harlem Nights. Here comes Bill.
He's like Pinocchio before he's a real boy.
Oh, wouldn't.
That's right.
So,
Dude, that's
oh, shit. Okay.
Okay. Hey, shit.
You know how I always get one new guy to start picking on for a while? I'm tired of Wheeler Yuta. He's off to this side. Give me Hangman.
Oh,
Moving my way up the card.
We kicking little brother to the curb? What the fuck?
Forged and forged and
Just forging and forging.
You got to take over, Zach. This motherfucker's starting to get out of hand.
All right, so we had a standard, like, party match. Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue, and Hikaru Shida. They beat Athena, Diamante, and Mercedes Martinez, who was out there with Billy Starks. Nothing much here. It was just get these gals on the card, have a match. Maybe we can get some challengers for Athena, like, coming out of this. But, yeah, nothing to really say too much about it. And then we had the guys who are always on the pre-show, Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh. Do they have a name, that group? Karen Jarrett, Sanjay Dutt. They're a
DOA.
I know that Lethal and Jarrett as a tag team were called Triple J.
Triple J. Okay.
Yeah, go with DOA.
Which is another AEW name that just takes two names and puts them together. Triple J.
Yeah.
Swerve in our glory. God.
And you know, they were with the acclaimed Daddy Ass, and Dennis Rodman was out there, and this was again just kind of a party match. It was like a house show match. Like, I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, unless you guys do. Dennis Rodman was just what did he do? He broke the guitar over Satnam Singh, and then I saw Billy Gunn just fucking yelling at him to get out of the ring. And he was sitting there like while he did the same after and stuff. It was pretty funny. He's just in the ring. Anyway.
No, it was kind of funny. It was like, dude, what are you doing?
Listen, Dennis Rodman used to get a lot of rebounds, and I was bored.
I see what you did there. That's it. That motherfucker on the roll here, ladies and gentlemen. Shit.
What's next?
All right. So finally we get to the show's open here. Better Than You, Bebe. Dark Order. John Silver and Alex Reynolds, who are out there with Evil Uno. And, man, this was fun. And, I mean, it was a good match. I just don't understand at all why these guys are out here. Like, I will never understand why. So we're building a pay-per-view after the biggest pay-per-view of all time, or the biggest, like, you know, like wrestling event of all time, right? This show, the theme of it was like, looks okay on paper, could be better, and then, like, blown away by this show. I fucking loved it. Spoiler alert. But this was like something where you're just like, fucking really Better Than You, Bebe versus the Dark Order. You can't fucking come up with anybody better. And then they had a fucking really fun match.
Of course they did.
Then it was like,
that's not
really,
the point.
They had a lot of clever storytelling device. MJF, you know, injures his neck, walks out, inevitably comes back in, you know, to helped because it was like basically a handicap match at that point. But this was a lot of fun because not just what happened during the match, which they ended up winning, of course, because the Dark Order is not going to be better than you, baby. But we got a callback that was probably 5-ish years old. Whenever they're walking back to the back, and Samoa Joe's music hits, and I love that. I think it was Nigel McGuinness, or maybe it was Excalibur, covered, and they're like, champion's prerogative. He can come out first or second. Like, it's entirely up to him. And he comes out and he just fucking shoves MJF, just like he did whenever MJF was a young boy at an NXT show, and he shoved him into the wall, which is like a total meme now. And MJF's so pissed that he runs after him and starts fighting him, and Joe just chokes him out immediately. And Adam Cole followed him, but he didn't follow him too close. He didn't get physical with Joe at all. And they're supposed to be boys. So there's a lot of layers here. This is a multi-layered story-wise match, because now you're like, oh, is MJF's neck actually hurt? Because if it is, then it's like an ultimate babyface turnaround where he comes back and he fires up and he ends up helping win the match. Or is MJF just working everybody because he doesn't actually want to work as often as he's being forced to work, because he's a double title holder now, and so he's just I'm gonna fake a neck injury and go fucking bang a rat in the back or whatever. Anyway, lots of layers here. Very fun.
Yeah, I say this motherfucker here.
He said banger rap.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not doing enough over here. You guys are just, shining so bright this evening. I'm just kind of in the background, doing a little jig in the background, background music and shit. I'm just a fucking backup singer tonight. Let's just start with the Joe part of the whole thing. I did find it extremely weird that Joe came out right away, but then they explained it off. So I was like, all right, cool. But then he just shoved the shit out of MJF. I was like, oh, so this is how we doing things. The only thing that I can say that I didn't like about it is if whoever wins this tournament, this Grand Slam tournament, is not named Samoa Joe, we're going to be disappointed. Because as soon as he pushed Joe, I was like, oh, shit, it's on. We getting Joe and MJF. And that's how my mind thinks.
We're getting Joe and MJF.
I'm saying if we don't. Because Roddy Strong's on the other side.
Yeah.
So we have, that to me is my guess of the final, Joe and Roddy. If we get Roddy Strong.
Which could be a really cool match.
But I think there would be a smidge of disappointment, because as soon as Joe pushed him, I know I was watching the game, but I was looking over at the side because the match is over. It's like, okay, cool, we can do whatever. I'm watching the game, and I just happened to look over because I heard Joe's music. I was like, damn, Joe's coming out, and I watched it, and I'm like, as soon as he pushed him, I was like, oh, it's on. We can Joe MJF for next, and that's immediately how I think. I don't think that the Roddy match would be bad. For me, it's just going to be a tear
We
down.
are going to end up getting Adam Cole versus Roddy. We're getting Joe versus MJF. I don't have much to say about this MJF Adam Cole match, except, listen, I know it's over with the crowd, but I really can't stand the kangaroo kick shit. I really can't stand it.
Damn, you sound like me, man. What the fuck?
It is. I don't want to get all Jim Cornette on anybody. Ham texted me last week after he listened to the podcast. He's like, dude, you went full Jim Cornette 3 times. That's what he said to me. He said that to me at a dinner.
Oh, I wish this was a visual medium right now. My mouth is dropped to the floor.
I don't want to get all Jim Cornette, but that is beneath the world title holder.
Wow.
Joe MJF is going to fucking rule. The segment on Dynamite was fucking, Joe is so good in situations like this, and MJF is, size-wise, he's just a believable enough underdog. It's like Joe should be whooping up on him, but, man, MJF's big enough to where you can see, if he has a good night, Joe has an off night, kayfabe style, then MJF could go over. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that segment, we can talk about that now just to loop it all in together, skip it later. That segment was absolutely fire. And bringing it back to what Jason was saying, I think because we have two shows, right? We have Grand Slam, and then we have Wrestle Dream. So what I'm thinking is, for the winner of the tournament wrestles MJF at Grand Slam. So I'm thinking that somehow Roderick Strong ends up winning the tournament, but we still get Joe MJF at Wrestle Dream. So we have to build up two shows like pretty much back to back. So I think those are going to be the two main events there.
I should add though that when Ham explained to me the three takes that I had that were Jim Cornette-ish, I was like, yeah, he's right. I do sound like Jim Cornette there.
I say, man, don't justify yourself, man. Speak your truth.
Oh, I mean, hey, listen.
Extra mayo.
I got a little bit of Jim Cornette in me. That's fine.
Speak your truth, dog. Don't let that.
I had sex with his wife a few times.
No. Whoa.
Wait, that is Jim Cornette, right? Who gets accused of he likes watching guys fuck his wife?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
I didn't want to slander him if it was Gorilla Monsoon or something.
What's up next?
Yeah.
Thank you, Vice. Get a hold of the show.
I met Jim Cornette at StarCast. He gave me one drink. I felt really tipsy.
I'm like, did you? I didn't see him.
Yeah, right.
So
Loaded Pops.
Samoa Joe beat Shane Taylor in what was not the best big guy match of the night, but it was still totally fine, pretty quick, and like we just talked about earlier, pretty predictable. But Kevin Kelly said it. He was like, "The heavyweight fight, this one ain't going 15 rounds. Like heavyweight fights don't last that long." And this one didn't. Cookie in a clutch, and R.I.P. Shane Taylor for this night at least.
Yeah, this match, I saw a lot of people online talking about how great this match was and how good Shane Taylor looked. Okay. If you can't say anything nice about somebody, don't say anything at all. This match was fine.
As one of the matches I was looking forward to, this match definitely did not live up to at least the hype in my mind. As quick as it may have been, and this Kelly might rightfully explained this isn't going 15 rounds or whatever the case may be, it didn't feel like it was worthy enough for the time invested. Shane Taylor is a way better opponent for Joe than this. It should have got more time. It should have felt like it was more so of a banger match that we end up getting later on, but neither here nor there. I'm not going to explain away the booking of Tony Khan. Tony wants Shane to go down. He went down fairly quickly. So it is what it is.
What's up?
All right. So then we moved on to what was a very fun match. Luchasaurus beat Darby Allin. And because of the whole Christian thing with him calling himself a TNT champ and him carrying around the belt all the time, we really don't get to see Luchasaurus that much. And also, Luchasaurus is out forever with like a shoulder injury. We've seen him like do squashes and stuff, but we really haven't seen him do a lot of just matches. And this was really fun. Luchasaurus, he didn't do a lot of his like super athletic stuff because he's the big monster heel, and so that's not his role here. But absolutely put the heat on Darby Allin a lot. Just kind of beat the shit out of him. They did a lot of fun stuff. There was a code red, the top or middle rope that was had a delayed enough kick out that got some boos. Like some fans thought it should have been 3. But overall, this thing ended up being just, I was really into it. There were some good near falls, including that one. But he ended up pinning him. He did like a tombstone, and then he stood back up and he did like another one. That was nuts. I liked it.
I like this match too. I love Darby Allin. I love Darby Allin fighting big guys. Luchasaurus is completely fine. I'm not the biggest fan, but he's completely fine. Darby Allin, he's a great wrestler. He should never, this might be a little bit of foreshadowing, he should never wrestle somebody smaller than him. Let's just say that. But yeah, I was into this match. What's up?
When I was watching this match, I was thinking about the the Nick Wayne Darby Allin relationship, and I was thinking to myself, is Nick Wayne going to cost Darby Allin this match? And I was thinking, like, it's too early for him to flip heel and swerve us like that, but somehow, some way, it's a bump here, or he's chasing Christian around, and Darby gets distracted, and that ultimately kind of happened where Christian had Nick Wayne and had the chair over and was like, get your ass off the top rope. And, Darby had to make that decision of whether or not he was going to go ahead and do what he needed to do or save his friend. And he chose to save his friend, which ultimately cost him the match. That, to me, is where Christian is just gold right now. Anything he does to me is just 7s and 11s. I'm just using the crap table analogy because that's how I see him right now at the top of the craps table, and he can do no wrong. I literally jumped out of my chair. I was like, oh, thank God. I like Darby, but I want Christian to be a champion, quote unquote, for as long as humanly possible. Darby's been the TNT champion. He doesn't need to be TNT champion. He doesn't need to be AEW title or bust for him. Maybe the international title if you feel like that's elevated over the TNT title, which in my case I think it is. Neither here nor there. I think the right person ultimately went over. Darby is bigger than this, obviously, because he's in the tournament for the AEW championship. So good, not great, but Christian is always the man, and it's always fun to watch him in these moments.
He's incredible.
Speaking of incredible, Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs completely overachieved. So we imagined this was going to be a big guy match. You knew it, and even Excalibur said, the Big E line that we always say: "Big meaty men slapping meat." Dude, it's like Chicago heard him and they just took over. And usually I'm not a fan of the crowd trying to put themselves over, but this was a lot of fun. I mean, there was slap that meat. This is meaty, meat forever.
The best.
There's holy meat chants. I mean, this was just absolutely awesome. I love this match. This is the kind of thing that, and this is the style of match that can get a match of the year kind of contender for WWE. It was awesome. Ends up Miro, after they traded finishing moves and traded near falls, Miro ends up putting him in the game over, and Powerhouse Hobbs taps out. And then, after the match, because Hobbs and Miro, he's keeping an eye on him. Hobbs kind of offers him a sign of respect, and Miro's keeping an eye on him, and he's keeping an eye on him. He's slowly backing up. And he's like, "I'm not taking my eyes off you." And then he finally does take his eyes off of him, and then Hobbs attacks him. It's like, oh shit. So of all people comes out to make the save. It's on the big screen, hot and flexible. And I was like, oh shit.
What?
My sister was in the room with me when I was watching it. She was like, I was like, yeah, it's a big pay-per-view. I was like, this match is fucking awesome. And she's like, hot and flexible? I was like, yeah, it's wrestling. Still wrestling.
And
deal with it.
So her husband's getting his ass beat, and so hot and flexible, CJ Perry, who we don't even know what her name's going to be in AEW, but that's her real name. She strikes a pose, and then she kicks off her shoes and she runs down the ring. And I tell you what, this almost soured the entire pay-per-view on me, because this producer had one fucking job, and we cut to a wide arena shot of her running down the ring. If CJ Perry is running down the ring, you Baywatch that shit. You do not cut wide. I paid $50 fucking for this thing. $50 fucking, and you fucking cut to a fucking arena wide shot. Jesus Christ. Fucking Bush League. Anyway, she hits him with a chair, which does nothing. And then we get a weird thing where it seems like Miro is doesn't think she's real. It's like Miro has a 2-year long storyline in his head that he's telling, but they're not telling on TV at all. Like he's never had the opportunity to tell this story, but there's like a very complex story here that we don't know anything about. Maybe we'll find out. We didn't find anything out on Wednesday, so
yeah,
maybe on Collision.
He has barely said in his promos. He talks about how he's not faithful to he doesn't trust his wife anymore or something. But like his promos his vignettes are pretty few and far between. So it's like you really got to be paying attention to Miro promos to know exactly what the hell's going on. Hold on. So
First things first, let's get this fucking thing out of the way.
this match fucking ruled. It was unbelievable. I had to watch this match. I was watching the pay-per-view about an hour behind on the pirated stream, and I was casting it from my phone to my TV. So I couldn't look at Twitter. Nobody was texting me. I had no spoilers. And how pleasantly surprised I was when I woke up the next day and went to PW Torch and went to Twitter to look at what Wade Keller said and shit. And everybody was over the moon about this match. It's like, oh, so it wasn't just me just super high and like something clicking in my head. It's like everybody was on the same page that this match fucking ruled. And I tell you what, when Powerhouse Hobbs and Miro shook hands, I thought for a second, oh, they're doing the mutual respect Sheamus and Cesaro thing or Dana Bryan and Moxley thing. And then I thought, oh, these guys would be an unbelievable tag team. I would love to see Powerhouse Hobbs and Miro as a tag team and just run roughshod and go win the belts. I think that would be fucking awesome. But needless to say, the CJ Perry stuff was fine afterwards. You know, there's a little bit of intrigue. At least they're going to give Miro a story, which I'm cool with because, as you know, I'm a Miro mark. And let me just also say this about Miro. He looks fucking badass, dude. He looks like such a badass. Can you imagine encountering that guy at a Target or something? He is so, like, if you just saw him out in the real world, you'd be like, this guy's insane looking.
You would back the fuck down and you would cry me a Miro.
Yeah.
I can echo everything you guys said. I mean, easily. And for me, trying to watch both the matches and football was getting a little distracted, but this is right around the time where halftime was going on, so I could start to watch this match. And I'm listening, I'm like, what the fuck are they chanting? And I finally caught on to it. I'm like, oh, no. And from that point on, for me, this match just took on a whole new level of just laughing my ass off with the crowd, but then watching these guys just big, meaty men slapping meat. So, I mean, for that point, this whole match took on to a whole nother level. It took a whole new life onto itself. CJ Perry coming out is what it is, but I'm with you on this, and I say it on Twitter. At least I know now Miro has a story going forward. He's not just going to disappear on us, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, he'll pop back up. I expect to see him on TV in some form or fashion Saturday night.
What do you think about Hobbs and Miro as a tag team?
I don't want to see it.
Zach, what do you think?
That sounds awesome.
Yes. Okay. All right. Yeah.
The book of Miro. That sounds great.
Yep, there you go.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Miro and Hobbs.
Yeah, obviously, but come on. I was about to say, if we're going to do crappy tag names, the Book of Miro works better.
The Bro Bible. The Bro Bible.
The Bro Bible. So what's next?
Then we had...
maybe my match of the night.
It was a tough spot for these women. Chris Zoolander defeated Ruby Soho, who had Saraya in her corner, but that did not help much because Toni Storm was under the ring. I'm like, I wonder if she was under there for like 3 hours or if they like snuck her under there somehow. But they had a fine match. It was the interference. Basically, the whole thing, the story of the match was that Ruby Soho could not put Chris Statlander down no matter how much she tried. She had her finishes. She did, everything that she could do in her power, and it wasn't enough. So then they were going to cheat. And Saraya was going to hand her the spray can, or she handed her the spray can. Tony Storm decides at that moment to come out of the ring. So in kayfabe style, this makes no sense at all. It's like, how did Tony Storm know? Like, is she streaming the show, like, underneath the ring so she knows, like, did she know beforehand that
There's
they
no
were going
reception
to
in there.
do this? Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But she comes out. She runs to the wrong side of the ring, which is funny because it was kind of in character because of just her kind of crazy character right now. But then she runs back around and she snatches the spray paint bottle from Ruby Soho, and then Chris Zoolander hits her finish. This was mostly suffered because of where it was at on the card. I think anything would have suffered here, except maybe the next match, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Jason?
Not much here.
Yeah, this was okay. I think the shenanigans are getting to be a little much. They do strike me as a Wednesday Night Dynamite type of thing. But I'm trying not to be a hater. So what was next?
Shit.
Next was...
I'm bleeding because I'm biting my tongue over here.
Try harder.
So next was the first of what I would say, there's 2 5-star matches on this show. And this is also the first of a string of 5 matches that were just great. Like this, if All In, like the first half of the show was phenomenal. It was like the first 5 matches, you were just like, holy shit, like I can't believe like they're giving us all these matches like right off the bat. The end of All Out was very, very good. Even better, actually, than anything I think really on All In. And I thought All In was a fantastic show. But I am talking about the strap match between Bryan Danielson and Ricky Starks, which had literally the only build to this match was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat came out and said, there's another guy known as the Dragon, and it's Bryan Danielson, and that's like all we needed because Bryan Danielson's so great.
Ricky Starks like, oh shit. That to me is, just to go back to Collision for 30 seconds, I thought Ricky Starks' promo off the bat was real as real can get. It was, you could see literally the lines being blurred between
he was frustrated.
Him being frustrated as a person, being stuck in this spot, and it came out real as fuck. As soon as he was done, I'm like, I love me some Ricky Starks even more.
They took lemons
and made a whole fucking lemonade stand and had motherfuckers coming out the block. That is on my short list of promo of the year. He turned that shit all the way the fuck around.
Yep.
That was my first point I wanted to get with that. Then the second point, and obviously the match itself. Go ahead.
Dude, yeah. So I will agree. The Stark stuff, that very real frustration, right? And I imagine Bryan Danielson, like, also understanding, like, how frustrating that must be to be. He's literally in a program with one of the top stars in the company. You know, he's really getting, like, the biggest push of his entire life. And the rug gets pulled out from under him, just like you said. And I just imagine Bryan Danielson going up to him, and he's like, hey, kid, you want to have the best fucking wrestling match you've ever had in your life.
Not to cut you off, but real fast, I heard in the post-show scrum that Danielson really put over Ricky Starks and was like, he led me through the whole match. He's like, because
he carried me through this match. I was like, he did what?
Yeah, I mean, even if that's not 100% true, that's high praise.
I will say that Ricky Starks stepped the fuck up because, man, we've seen Bryan Danielson get a good strap match out of the Fiend. I mean, rest in peace, Bray Wyatt, but that Fiend gimmick was hard to watch in the ring, and that was the best match of the whole thing. This match was so fucking violent. Like, it was bordering on uncomfortable. Like, at one point, like, he had fucking Ricky Starks, like, up against the pole and was just whipping him. And I'm like, am I watching fucking Amistad right now? Like, this is fucking insane.
Really, I was very conscious of how violent it seemed because we were back here I turned it on. My sister and my brother-in-law came over. So I was watching it in a room, but I told them, hey, if you're coming over, I'm watching wrestling. And they're like, yeah, we just want to come over and get high. It's like, okay. So, like, my brother-in-law is, like, asking questions. You know, he used to watch it in the 80s. And my sister, you know, bless her heart, she likes me and she wants to see why I'm into stuff. So if wrestling's on, she'll, like, ask questions about it, you know. And the Ricky Starks, Daniel Bryan match, I was very conscious of. I mean, if she has no idea, she's pretty socially conscious, you know? If she has no idea what she's walking into and she just walks in and here's Bryan Danielson, a white guy, just whipping the shit out of fucking Ricky Starks, and then he pins him by choking him with the belt, I was like, you know, if you didn't know any better, this would look pretty fucking fucked up.
Jesus, ice this shit out. Get this.
So all that being said, this match fucking ripped. It was awesome. It was it's just another in a long line of Daniel Bryan having just off the wall crazy good matches. The guy's never in a bad match.
I was going to say this was reminiscent, just jumping back to WWE when Finn Balor and AJ Styles had their impromptu match, and I can't remember when it was, but they slapped it together, and then all of a sudden
it was right before WrestleMania, or no, it was Survivor Series.
It might have been, I can't remember, and all of a sudden they had this match or whatever, and it was it was under the Vince regime, and very few times you get two small guys like that have a chance to go out and roll the ball out and let them do what they do, and they end up having a monster match. Danielson and Moxley for AEW are kind of like those two guys in a pinch. You know, you can, and obviously we'll talk about Moxley in a minute. Danielson for this scenario, like you said, he had to come in and, you know, put out a fire, and then on top of it, get Ricky Starks over. So, I mean, that's a two-pronged job on that scenario for Danielson. And I thought Ricky Starks, this is his best match that I think arguably I've ever seen. I think I'll take the argument off of it. This is the best match I've ever seen of Ricky Starks. It was from the emotion of coming in from Saturday night, at least for me, when I know he's getting ready to catch some work. I didn't think he was going to get to this level. Like you said, there was a couple of times I'm like, oh. I mean, both guys are getting literally choked with the strap, you know, getting pulled and jerked and carried on. Danielson also said he never struck with his broken forearm, and I never really tripped off of that until I watched it again. He never threw a right hand, a right forearm, or, you know, anything along those lines. Anything that he threw was from left-handed, and was, you know, he stomped the shit out of him multiple times, whipped him like the government mule multiple times, but never struck with his right forearm. So something to keep in mind going forward. But now this was, at the point, I thought this was the match of the night. I still think it is to a certain degree. It was so emotional. At least for me, I wanted Ricky Starks to somehow eke this out. And I knew in my heart of hearts he wasn't. You're not just going to bring Danielson back and just have him get this L. Ricky Starks got over in the loss. Danielson won the match. So for me, this was win-win. How you topped this Joker, I wasn't sure. But there's an argument to be made that it could be topped.
What's next?
Yeah, Danielson coming out to the final countdown. Like I heard that, and Tony Khan just paid $100,000 so he could come out to the song like he's going over. Yeah. But that still did not take away from the enjoyment, if you can call it that, of this match. Just the straps to the face, man.
Just to the
Observer
neck
comes out
and shit.
They were whipping each other like dogs. It was bad, but I enjoyed every minute of it. Like you said, between that and Florida State was starting to womp that ass. This was a good start. Well, not even a good start, but just a nice little Sunday night enjoyment party. Didn't have to work the next day either. Perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah, I called this at least 5 stars. The Observer comes out tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing got like 5.5. Anyway, moving on. Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta, they beat Eddie Kingston and Katsuyori Shibata. This was surprising to me. I had predicted that Eddie would beat Claudio or pin Claudio, and they would set up for that ROH title match, and it happened the complete opposite way. And he actually pinned him off of just like a European uppercut. It was kind of a flash thing. I do kind of like that in one sense, like intellectually, in the sense that sometimes you can just get hit hard and then just get pinned because, you know, Eddie did kick out like at 4 or like 3.5 or whatever. It's just like he caught him, man. Like fair's fair, man. Like it's a fucking fight. Anything can happen. Like he just got hit. But it did seem a little flat and kind of surprising. But the match was very fun. They were in a tough spot too because the crowd there's a huge come down, and it was like they were all professional enough to know that. Like they started slow and they started with like some story stuff, like Claudio refusing to get in the ring with Kingston, like basically just stepped off the fucking apron and just like turned his back on the entire ring and just like wouldn't even watch the match. So they knew what was going on, but I ended up really getting into this one by the end, and I thought they did a really kind of masterful job of getting the crowd into their match, despite just the spectacle that they had just seen.
Jason.
Okay. To me, the ending was the part that stuck out. It felt abrupt, but I'm willing to concede that, you know, if you want to go in kayfabe style, guys get hit. And you get dropped. I do when he did kick out at that 3.5 or 4 or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So in that scenario, it wasn't my favorite finish, but Eddie kicking out just a half second, a second too late, kind of made up for it at least a little bit in my mind that he just got caught. It kind of is what it is. The match itself I thought was good.
Yeah, the ending of this match was really good. All three of us had Eddie Kingston and Shibata going over, so we were wrong. Just so we can get it out of the way, for the weekend, we all tied with 11 points apiece. I had one more guess right because I picked Takeshita, and I also picked Trish Stratus, so that's why you guys were up 1 on me, and then I got up 1 on you. So all tied with 11. What's next, Zach?
So then we had our second 5-star match of the night, in my opinion. Konosuke Takeshita beats Kenny Omega in a singles match. I was wrong about this. But first time in his career, the story is that Don Callis, who seems to be not only in a feud with Kenny Omega, but also a feud with Christian Cage over who can be the biggest cocksucker every single night. And I love both of them for it so much. But basically the story is that Don Callis has found a younger, stronger, taller, faster Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega is in decline. Don Callis is talking about how he hasn't won a singles match since he parted with him. So this is a very fun story. This was your work rate match. This was the match for, I think you can show anybody this match and they would enjoy it, but this was especially the kind of match that I feel like we kind of do this podcast for, and the reason that we spend money on these kinds of pay-per-views. I mean, Kenny Omega is just that dude, and Takeshita is that dude as well. There was just so many spots in this match that were phenomenal. I could just talk about this match forever. Just go watch it. You will not enjoy it. It's a match of the year candidate.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it again. This was tremendous from start to finish. I'm so glad that Takeshita went over. I just think it's the right call. I picked it, and I think that he's a future heavyweight champion of AEW. I've gotten yelled at about saying that before by somebody very close to this podcast whose name rhymes with Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, that's fucked up, dog. No, I agree. I thought this was arguably another 5-star match. It could be the match of the night, depending on what you like. The Blue Thunder Bomb from Takeshita to me is the one that really stood out because it's athleticism, it's strength, it's the whole shebang. It's why.
Whew, he looks fucking good hitting it too, man. He just that is in his hands. That is a fucking badass move.
They even mentioned that it was from El Generico too, who both the guys have history with.
Right, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous. He and Yoda Tsuji like leap off the screen for me in certain scenarios.
He's so fast.
Yeah, where he looks like he's that much better than Kenny Omega, which you don't really supposed to say that shit out loud, but then he beat him clean.
No,
I'm like, what the fuck?
There's sometimes where he looks like you're watching it in 1.5 speed.
Yeah, he's just that much athletic, stronger, faster, whatever verbiage you want to put into it.
He reminds me of LeBron.
When he first came out, you could tell there was a difference between LeBron and everybody else, and that's what the elite athletes have.
Come at me, all you Kobe lovers. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of
Kobe
here.
was the same way, too.
Hero-ass ball. No, he wasn't.
Look, that hero-ass ball got him 5 rings.
You know, Vice isn't here anymore. If he'd be going, that was for you, Vice. Fucking Kobe lovers. All right.
Moving on?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
All right.
I got off track.
Then we had Bullet Club Gold, Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Austin and Colton Gunn, who honestly I can tell apart, but I have no idea which one's which. And still,
Colton's
but
the taller one with the concave.
Okay,
He's the one with the concave chest.
He looks more like a Colton. That makes sense. All right. And then they faced FTR and the Young Bucks. So this was super fun and super interesting. So, like, we kind of degraded this as like, this sounds like a Collision main event, which it totally does. And it almost like wrestled like one too, because Collision main events are often awesome. This match was a lot of fun. It was the Young Bucks getting a Chicago reaction. So, like, it was like the Young Bucks getting the CM Punk reaction when CM Punk goes anywhere but Chicago, which was interesting because, like, Kenny Omega was cheered as a babyface, Hangman Page is cheered as a babyface, but, like, Chicago does not like the fucking Young Bucks. But they also do like the Young Bucks. It's so funny because Nick Jackson got a hot tag at one point in this match, and they're just booing, and they're booing, and then he hits, like, his last flip of the hot tag, and everybody cheers. They're like, so
the Young Bucks,
it's just,
the Young Bucks do seem polarizing, though, don't they?
Yeah.
they are. Yes.
Like, they get tons of pop. They get tons of heat. Like, everywhere they go, the crowd is just noisy. So, this match was cool for what it was. I mean, yeah, when I say it sounds like a Collision main event, Collision main events are usually pretty fucking good. Like, we've seen insane matches on Dynamite, those trios matches with the Elite and shit. So, yeah, this was fun. I mean, I wasn't very invested in who won or anything, and I really I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks and the Revival, like, working together and doing each other's moves with each other. I just think it's just too, I don't know.
I like that. I thought it was fun that, Matt had to do the other half of the Shatter Machine, and then Dax had to do the other half of the BT trigger, and, like, whenever Matt was doing he's like, whatever he does before they do the trigger, it says BT trigger, and Dax just looks at his fucking watch, like pretends to look at his watch while he does that.
I was like, man, y'all motherfuckers ain't shit.
But it was pretty cute, so I do get that. It was interesting too. I feel like Jay White is like Scar and the Lion King, and like Juice Robinson and the Guns are like the hyenas. They're just like throwing around, like laughing and shit. And he ends up like doing the what do you call it? His finishing move. What I can't remember the name of it now. But Blade Runner, and then Colton jumps over and steals the pin. So we kind of set up FTR versus the Guns, which we've done before, but it's Collision stuff. Like, so we're gonna get a title match with them. But really, it was Jay White's move that sealed the deal. So I think we're also gonna get another Bullet Club Gold FTR match as well. So yeah, good stuff. Sorry, Jason. What do you think?
Look, man, you getting warmed up for your next comedy set. I ain't mad at you. Far from it. I didn't mind to me, it was irony that you had an FTR guy and a Bucks guy helping each other with their tandem moves. I didn't necessarily mind it. It is what it is. It just added a little layer to the story. Not a big deal. To me, the finish was where, after the match and everybody's looking around like, what the fuck, pointing fingers and shit. That, to me, is where we're here for. I'm not worried about who's doing each other's moves. That is what it is. What's happened, the story that's being told is that there's still friction between the Bucks and the FTR, no matter how much they want to try to play nice or what they want to say. Ultimately, they still have beef, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I want Jay White to be a singles guy sooner rather than later. I want Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs to be a tag team. I want Jay White to be a singles guy.
I know we're getting ready to delve into He Who Shall Not Be Named here in a little bit, but
I have thoughts.
I think we all do. I think part of the reason why I liked Who Shall Not Be Named around and having that real world championship, quote unquote, if they wanted to keep it two separate titles, that's where Jay White and others in that little, I guess, area, plane, or whatever you want to call it, where it feels like they're the next guy up, but we have to wait because now you have Adam Cole. Now it feels like Samoa Joe. Now, just with one title, you're just with this roster. Yeah. Guys like Jay White are going to have to wait. That's why I'm, with as great as Will Ospreay is, he'll have to wait too. And when he comes over,
he doesn't have to. I'm not saying he has to have the belt. Just make him a singles wrestler and put him in some feuds.
He is. Well, there we go. There's the problem. He's not in a singles feud.
He just seems. I mean, in my mind, he is a full standard deviant higher than Juice Robinson in terms of like being a top of the card guy. I mean, he's just that much better than he's slumming with Juice Robinson.
Ooh, damn! Whoa,
is that you don't agree?
I think slumming's a rather harsh word. I mean,
Juice Robinson is firmly mid card, and Jay White should be in the title picture.
I can't disagree with you. I can't agree with you more. I'll just say this.
Juice Robinson hit his ceiling when he married Toni Storm.
And if that's the ceiling, let me hit that ceiling too, motherfucker. Give me that lotto ticket. What the fuck?
It's a high ceiling.
Okay, exactly.
Compared to the normal dude.
Exactly. I'm waiting patiently for Jay White to get his turn. But I know with this roster and with Tony continuously going to add to this roster, we might be waiting for Jay White to get his turn. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully 2024 he at least gets a AEW title shot. And I'm being nice with that. I think the rest of 2023 is pretty much sewed up in some form or fashion. 2024 feels more realistic.
Yeah, at first I would have said that Jay White was slumming it, and I still agree. I do think that what they're doing with the gun, they have elevated the guns a lot. Mm-hmm. I didn't care about seeing the guns on TV at all, and this Bullet Club Gold thing, like
the bang bang gang.
Yeah, I'm into it. Like, I say bring another guy or two like into the fold and give him that Jay White rub. But yeah, he is absolutely magnitudes above most of the roster. For sure.
I agree.
All right, so then we had our main event, which was also awesome. Maybe the third 5-star match of the night. This was just so goddamn good. So Moxley did not need to put over Orange Cassidy on Collision, but he did anyway because
big time.
Yeah, he's like championship runs like this. They don't come along that often. And, just a real down-to-earth, just real deal Moxley promo that was fucking awesome. He's like, a lot of wrestlers, want to be the best wrestler in the world, but when times get hard, they start looking for a way out. I'm like, oh, that was a definitely veiled shot at CM Punk, which I appreciated. But at the same time, I was like, this is the show to like get that stuff out of the way, because there was other ones on the show that were mentioned where you're like, Ricky Starks there's a couple other.
Did you see what I put on Facebook, that John Moxley promo right after CM Punk came back, and he's like, sorry, CM Punk didn't turn out to be who you thought he was. He's talking to Chicago, and they're booing him, but they're also kind of cheering him. Like,
yep.
There's no way that John Moxley respects CM Punk. There's just no fuck. I just don't believe it. I'm sure he respects him as a wrestler, like game recognized game, whatever. But I mean, that's another thing that I was going to say about Bryan Danielson with Ricky Starks. Bryan Danielson came to the rescue, you know, probably like, hey, let's have a great match, Ricky Starks. But he's also probably like, man, I've known Phil Brooks for fucking 20 years, and I know exactly what that motherfucker's like. He probably legitimately felt bad for Ricky Starks. Anyway, we got more Punk to come. Sorry.
So he puts him over, and man, this match was awesome. It was brutal. Also, not too often where someone is a bloody mess in a John Moxley match and it's not John Moxley.
No shit.
He beat the shit.
I think that's also a way of putting him over.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to bleed too.
As the babyface, there's like, Orange Cassidy's not a big guy, and even Moxley is just like, he's not a huge guy, but he's quite a bit bigger than Orange. And there's a size differential, and he's just, beating the shit out of him. And really, by the end of it, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's just a choice by John Moxley. That's not like, that's something that he thought about and decided to do. He's like, I'm not going to bleed. He's gonna do all the bleeding. That's a way of putting him over. Sorry, you were saying. And then by the end.
Yeah, and then by the end, it was almost the whole thing was just so like respectfully done, in the sense of like, he's almost putting this guy out of his misery by the end of it. Like, he's just been beating him, and he's just a bloody mess. And like, he doesn't even fucking kick him in the stomach before he does the Death Rider. He just like grabs him and gets him his Death Rider and pins him 1, 2, 3. And he's like crawling out of the ring, and Cassidy's in the middle. And the whole time, Moxley's just like looking back at him, almost like kind of shell shocked, like, holy shit, like, I can't believe all that I had to do to put this guy down. Like, he's just in disbelief, right? Just even on his way back to the locker room, he's still putting the guy over in a very subtle way. I loved it. And then, of course, Orange Cassidy is able to get up, and he gets like the standing O and the thank you Orange and all that. So it still ended on a happy note, even though effectively the heel won the championship in the main event. Just the celebration of that historic international title reign, which is one of the best title reigns of my lifetime, of our lifetime. I don't even think that's hyperbole. It was great. So, yeah, this was a fantastic bow on what seemed to be, on paper, like just a decent pay-per-view, and then ended up being a phenomenal show.
If you want some hyperbole, I got some for you. I don't know if this is John Moxley / Dean Ambrose's best match that we've ever seen him in, but it might be the best match we've ever seen him in. I think it's on his Mount Rushmore of matches. The story, this was a match that was so old school in the way that it told a logical story from front to back. And really, like Zach said, it put the perfect bow on this title reign. Like, it took a guy like John Moxley, who's a former champion, who is kind of, they put out the Moxley symbol when CM Punk goes off every single time. And John Moxley is kind of the heart and soul of the roster. And the storytelling in this match was tremendous. I loved the way that Moxley put him over on Collision and throughout the match, like Zach said. And then the end of the pay-per-view was Orange Cassidy in the middle of the ring on his hands and knees, a bloody mess, looking like Y.A. Tittle, and the crowd giving him very respectful applause. This was tremendous. Might be my favorite. I don't know if it's my favorite Orange Cassidy match. It might be my favorite Moxley match.
It wasn't to me more, well, it's like a good psychological thriller. It's supposed to be more about the games that's messing with your head versus what you actually see on the screen. The physical, violence that we saw on the screen with Moxley just dog walking Orange Cassidy at certain points, that to me was the easy part. But then just, watching Moxley just kind of stalking around, taking his time with him, in and outside of the ring, and just dragging this thing out to where at a certain point it just felt like, this wasn't going to go more than 15 minutes or whatever the case may be. But then Orange kind of comes back a little bit. He does the little, soft kicks, but then all of a sudden, like, he turns on this switch and those soft kicks turn to violent kicks, and then he goes on to another clip. That to me is when the match got into another gear, when Orange fired himself up and looked like this was going to be an Orange Cassidy run where he could possibly pull this out. Moxley, God bless him, snuffed that shit out and put the Death Rider on it, and that to me was the match. To me, it was more about Moxley just being just a stalking the big monster heel, and he's not that big, but in comparison to OC, he is just stalking him down, walking him down, and finally putting him out of his misery. Kudos to both guys. Moxley saves the day per usual. Him and Danielson.
Match quality, but not counting for atmosphere necessarily because they were in Wembley for one of them. But just in terms of what was a better show, All In or All Out? Zach,
match
you can
quality,
answer too.
All Out.
All Out match quality. I think I loved them both. What a fucking time to be alive, man. Seriously, what a time to be alive. I loved them both. I think I liked All Out better because All Out had what I wanted All In to have, which is more singles matches. Every single singles match on this card delivered.
Match quality. Yeah, okay, that's fair because, there's not a 5-star match that's in that was on the Wembley All In show. MJF Cole, if you want to go that route, I'll give you that one. There's at least 2 on here, depending on if you want to go a third, you can go on a third. So, yeah, I would go All Out was the better show.
Okay, and anything else on All Out before we move on? We'll have our predictions a little bit later for this weekend, AEW All Over. That's coming after the third count. So
I was like, holy shit, what prediction? I'm like, Jesus Christ.
What the fuck is he talking about? No, I honestly can't think of anything. I'll say this. You didn't pay for it. I didn't pay for it. He paid for it. If I would have paid for it, I wouldn't have been mad because it over-delivered. In a scenario where we said it last week where coming into it, nothing really felt like this was worth me like giving out another $50 the week after doing it the first time around.
I was vetoed from buying it. Like, I wanted to buy it. I didn't want to fuck around with the pirated because you gotta watch it in 15-minute chunks, and I'm fucking casting it from my phone. It's like, no, I got vetoed because we were watching something else. I'm like, if I'm not watching it live, I'm just gonna not pay for it. But I would have felt totally vindicated in spending the $50
without question. And now
I spent $50 on a lot stupider shit.
Okay, so in that sscenario, I would give Tony Khan the credit, give the talent the credit.
Started the type of shit I spend money on. God damn.
I'll give them all the credit in the world. This was to me the better
Amazon
show.
boxes just fucking piling up on my front porch.
This motherfucker over here. All In was the more hyped up show. All Out was probably
I don't buy
the one
anything. She buys everything.
I'm sure that none of those packages have your name on them.
They don't. All right, let's get to that 3 count. You guys got dessert first. Here comes the liver and onions.
God damn.
First things first, let's get this fucking thing out of the way.
CM Punk is a complete and utter child, crybaby, fragile ego, and I just want to get that out of the way. But I do believe that this is bullshit. He should not have gotten fired. completely joking. I thought that Tony Khan was a fucking boss for going out in front of the Collision team. So for those of you that, if this is the only podcast you listen to or you haven't been paying attention, CM Punk got fired on Saturday from AEW for the backstage altercation, amongst other things. Tony Khan came out and said he's been going to wrestling shows for 30 years, but he's never feared for his safety or for his life until last Saturday, or last Sunday. So throwing in the feared for his life part, I know a lot of people are bumping on that. So am I. I mean, maybe he's doing that for legal reasons or something. I got to figure that whatever happened backstage, they have it. There's a videotape of it somewhere. I mean, they're taping everything. There's people filming documentaries about the whole thing. Of course they have that shit on tape. I just want to see it. But, okay, so CM Punk is out. So in the last 2 weeks, we've had probably the top two finalists for the Beef for Headline of the Year. CM Punk gets fired and Bray Wyatt dies. CM Punk getting fired, I know this intro has been long, but this is the last thing I'll say about it before I throw it to Jason. This whole thing has been hilarious. The last 2 years has just been hysterical from a wrestling fan standpoint and from somebody who doesn't wish CM Punk the best. It's just an absolutely hilarious set of circumstances that has transpired over the last 2 years. Really one of the oddest things since we've been doing the podcast, for sure. Maybe the oddest. What do you think, Jason?
Man, I said it when he came back this second time around. You know, lepers don't change their spots, and unfortunately for Punk, and you know, I wouldn't say, unfortunately for me, I'll say this: as much as I'm not a huge CM Punk fan, I will give credit where credit is due. When he came out, he got fans invested, whether it was positive or negative, and that's something to be said. However, when you can't, and I said it last week, this is a person that's calling other people children, but you're acting like just as much of a child, if not bigger in certain aspects. Jack Perry suspended indefinitely. Okay, it is what it is. Jack Perry's obviously not beyond reproach. He had to get it, some sort of slap down too. So be it. For me, the Punk thing just boils down to a scenario where it just feels like he just can't get out of his own way sometimes. He thinks he's bigger than everybody else, and the rules don't matter to him. The fear for his life portion of the Tony Khan speech, I thought you had to get it out on the table. If it was, and I was at work at the time, I caught it on our text thread. I was literally at a table. This is how slow we were, and I had my phone on vibrate, and it was literally vibrating to where it felt like somebody was calling me. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is going on? So I went to the kitchen. I saw that what was going on. I was like, oh, okay, this is what's up. And both of my text threads were both blowing up at the same time. So I was like, okay, I get it.
You talk to other people about wrestling?
Believe it or not.
Yes, oh yeah, you have a whole podcast.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did it this afternoon. So yeah, it is. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I guess my point is this. Punk coming back was ultimately the good, the bad, the yin and the yang of it. When he came back, it was literally a celebration where it felt like, we could get, some dream matches in, things along those lines. And then that first, turn went south real quick after he got hurt. Then this second one, I thought he was good. Bill said it best about the Samoa Joe match last week. That was a perfect little sweet spot match of, time where you can send CM Punk out and get good matches and not get him hurt. Well, just when you found that sweet spot, just when, Ricky Starks was just getting over and now starting to feel like he belonged in this main event, scene with, Omega and all these other guys, he decides now he's going to show his ass. So, I mean, for me, I've always said I have little tolerance for self-inflicted wounds. This was a self-inflicted wound as far as I'm concerned. He was so worried about himself and his own ego. He didn't think about Ricky Starks. He didn't think about Tony Khan. He didn't think about the company. He thought about himself. And like I said, I guess it was sometime last week, you just can't be walking around here and do what the fuck you want to do in a workplace and not expect some disciplinary action to happen. It just took longer than I expected.
Zach, what you think about the way that Tony Khan handled it?
Man, I thought I gotta give him props for that. He took a lot of flack whenever he just basically let CM Punk shit all over the company while angrily eating a muffin a year ago, and then go and get into a fight with employees in the back. Yeah, that was in a tough situation. He took a lot of flack, and they wouldn't talk about it. And then this shit happened. And in less than a week, he's like, I'm firing arguably the biggest star in the company. And then I'm going to go out in his hometown and tell everybody I did that. And I was like, good on him. And I know he was getting some flack for the feared for his life thing. I think it is twofold. I think it's probably legal, probably, stressing that. Yeah. Also, B, how many fucking fights do you think Tony Khan's ever gotten in his fucking life? He probably was scared shitless. Like, CM Punk is way more seasoned of a fighter. Even losing 2 UFC fights embarrassingly bad, he's still way more cut out to do violence than Tony Khan is. And apparently from, reports, he, went after him. He lunged at Tony Khan, knocked over a bunch of monitors. He physically, went after.
Big
not only
guy.
did he get to a fight with yeah, exactly. He's going to pick a fight with fucking Luke Perry's kid named Jungle Boy.
Right.
And then fucking Tony Khan.
Right.
I don't know. It is funny because in hindsight, it's after any traumatic event, not that it was traumatic for me at all, but it's just so much easier to laugh at it, and it was just so comical. Punk's only out for himself. He's only ever been out for himself. It's the same fucking story over his entire career. I don't know why anybody thought it was going to be any different this time. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, buying everybody ice cream sandwiches. He's just trying to fatten us up.
Man, he comes out of this thing a huge loser.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a couple $1 million richer.
He's a couple $1 million richer, but all it took was Tony Khan coming out there and just saying a few things, and those boos kind of turned to cheers. The crowd, you didn't hear one CM Punk chant all weekend.
No, you heard it when the Bucks came out, and that's the other thing I wanted to say about all
okay,
out.
But still, you heard it when. But
that's
the crowd did not hold it against the promotion.
No. And
there was no heat on the promotion in Chicago.
And that's credit to the matches that were rolled out. If you rolled out a bunch of bullshit matches, I guarantee you them CM Punk's a good chance would have started a lot earlier than they would have. They waited until the next to last match before they ever started to chant CM Punk. They were chanting me, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, but nobody turned away, though.
No. And
it's not like people were like, well, I'm not buying a ticket to the show. The show still sold tickets.
Without question, and as well it should. It shouldn't be about CM Punk.
I mean, what does that say? But what does that say about CM Punk? Doesn't he look at that? And, I know I'm psychoanalyzing the dude, but doesn't he look at that and be like, man, maybe I am the asshole?
I don't think he's capable of that.
Nope.
I don't know him at all, but it just seems that he's not.
Nope.
And it is funny. I guarantee he was upset because if you look at those collision numbers, granted, it's Saturday night. It's not going to be awesome anyway. There's a lot of competition. There's UFC. There's about to be football. There's sometimes WWE pay-per-views. But you know what, the biggest spike in, collision ratings has been? When fucking MJF and Adam Cole Bebe came over for one night only. And that had to sour the fuck out of him. And and also, what was interesting is on that collision show, where Tony Khan came out like a G and was just like, hey, sorry, guys, I had to fire CM Punk. That was just baller shit. And then, all the people that were on Collision, you ain't never seen that many people on Collision before. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it was because CM Punk's a fucking asshole and nobody wanted to work with him or nobody was allowed to work with him because he's like, I only want these handful of people. That match, or that whole show was like top to bottom, filled with stars, and I think Collision's going to be better for it.
That's the other thing that we should talk about is the fallout from that Punk not being around. And I think it started at All Out. You obviously had the announcement and a match card that didn't look like it was going to deliver. As soon as that thing was over, I was like, man, you don't have Punk. You got some good, feuds coming out of this. You over-delivered on a card that you probably had no business doing. And now I was looking forward to Dynamite without having to worry about what the fuck Punk was going to do. This is a fucking silver line.
I'm telling you, man.
Perfect. Credit to Tony Khan because I was hard on him, and I'll take my shit back. He did the one thing I thought he would never do, and it was fire at CM Punk.
In 2010, 2011, when I started watching wrestling again, CM Punk was brand new to me. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And I got so into the Summer of Punk. It was so fucking awesome.
Yep.
Like, it was really great television. Incredible. And CM Punk, when he came back to AEW, I always knew he's a dick in WWE, but you're like, oh, well, that's WWE. And then he's kind of a dick to Colt Cabana, and you're like, what the fuck's going on with this guy? But when he came back to AEW, we were fucking pumped. It was one of the headlines of the year that year in the Beavers that CM Punk made his triumphant return. And then it was such a bizarre 2 years. Like, so fucking weird. Like, all that Hangman Page stuff is so fucking weird. I listened to a guy recap the entire thing this week, and I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, God damn, that's fucking weird. And now everybody talks about these CM Punk defenders. I don't see that many of them. It doesn't seem to me like there are very many CM Punk defenders anymore. I mean, the way that his popularity is dropped amongst people of our ilk, he might as well have been Me Too'd. It's like nobody fucking cares about him anymore. Nobody likes him.
It's like watching Mike Tyson when he came back from coming out of jail. And he fought, Peter McNeely, and he got beat down by like Lennox Lewis, and he's biting Evander Holyfield's ear. It's just so bizarre. It was literally like watching shit that was going so out of control.
Oh man,
it was like, what the fuck is going on?
Zach, what was your instinctual reaction to finding out that CM Punk got fired? Was it, oh shit, or that's really funny? Or were you like, oh, yes?
Dude, I marked out. It was funny because I was in the Willamette National Forest. I had no cell service, and we left to go on a hike. And my phone, I turn it off airplane mode whenever I get down the road, and it does its thing where it's just sending off all these notifications. And that's whenever the text came through, and I was like, holy shit. And I was almost giddy because I didn't expect it to happen. It was like Christmas morning, and I didn't actually think Santa was going to come, but a bad boy. But he just, I had gotten a tattoo, but there was still a present there, and he delivered. And Tara's like, "What? What?" And I was like, "AEW fired CM Punk," and she was like, "Oh," because she doesn't know anything. She just thinks CM Punk's an attractive guy, which is probably the thing I hate about her the most. But
save it for the act, baby. Save it for the act.
Man, Aaron really likes him too.
Yeah, this fucking chick magnet Punk, man, what a fucking asshole. Anyway, I was pretty stoked. I marked out just like I would. I marked out like I did whenever Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole showed up at All Out on the same night.
Yeah, my reaction was I feel terrible for our country, but this is tremendous content. I was like, oh, this is gonna dominate the pod. My immediate thought was about the pod. I was with Steve at Cousin Joy's wedding, and I was like, oh, we were standing right next to each other, and I was like, oh, CM Punk got fired. He was like, what? And I was like, yeah, CM Punk got fired. It was fun.
I could totally hear Steve like, what? No,
I really hope that he does not go to WWE. I just hope that we just don't ever have to talk about CM Punk ever again. Because I don't like that he does dominate the discourse, and if I have to talk
takes
about
up
him,
a lot of oxygen.
Absolutely. And he loves that because he's a fucking narcissist and he loves that.
Yeah, he's like Trump.
I don't think WWE wants him back.
Listen,
ultimately.
if we had a TikTok channel, we could just take a video of me comparing CM Punk to Donald Trump, and like that would be my hot take. We'd get so much fucking traction on TikTok with just that take.
Trust me, there's a whole bunch of good
CM Punk,
shit
narcissist like Trump.
There's a whole bunch of
Pepsi
shit.
versus Diet Coke.
Right. Like Mark Maron has this joke where he says Donald Trump is the most successful narcissist ever because he actually did make it all about himself. Like, that's all anybody talked about was that dude. Anyway.
You ain't never lied. I don't think WWE wants it back. I mean, you got a really good thing going. If you're Triple H, if you're Vince.
You don't see him fighting in WWE over the next 12 months.
No.
Would you give it a percentage at all? Or is that your Stone Cold Lead Pipe Lock of the year?
This is wrestling, so you can never say never. So I'll give it a percentage. I'll say 10%.
What kind of percentage do you give it, Zach?
Oh, let's see. I'm gonna give it a 3% chance because there are 30 entrants in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I do not see him coming back at the Royal. I'm with Jason. I give it like a 10%. I was thinking 5 or 8. Like 10% is probably good. I don't really see it happening, but I don't know.
Crazier things have happened in wrestling.
Yeah, I know.
I think it'd be more likely if WWE wasn't super hot right now. They're the hottest company in the world. Like, they don't need them at all. Like,
Right.
if they were suffering. Yeah.
Right. And like him going into business for himself on SmackDown or something.
You can totally see that happening. You could give him a couple.
But would Triple H hate it?
Yeah. Look, they got a good fucking thing going.
Yeah, I mean,
why would you want to?
Who would you even want to see him fight? Cody?
I don't want to see him wrestle anybody on this roster that desperately to hire him for a year span, a 6-month span. No, it's not that serious. There's maybe Roman, just because Heyman's there. Outside of that, I'm good.
Okay, so let's say that CM
I think
Punk.
he's just probably gonna get into like a fucking a shoot fight with one of the Maximum Male models or something.
What a fucking slime ball.
See, they ain't wrestling in months. They ain't back there in catering. What you say to me?
That's where the fight would happen.
Right? Exactly. CM Punk gets in a fight in catering. I can totally see that happening. And why would you want that? Why would you want that?
I'll tell you what. I give props to Tony Khan. Yeah. He weathered. I mean, what a week for Tony Khan. I mean, if you go from Wembley Stadium to Punk getting fired to All Out, and he seems like he weathered the storm, and it seems like the product is still hot coming out of it. So, good on Tony Khan. The last word on CM Punk, and then we're never going to talk about him again. What is his legacy?
I'm assuming we're talking.
Muffins.
Yeah. Last question. Give me 10 words or less. What is CM Punk's legacy?
Wow. Yeah, that ultimately, wow.
It's a big question.
Well, for AEW, it's just, it's the what's the Tale of Two Cities opening line? It's the best of times, it's the worst of times.
This is the best of times for AEW.
For Punk, it was the best of times when he came back. Everybody was just like, "Oh my God, he's come back! Thank God!"
Punk was dragging them down,
and then there you go. The worst of times is where you're walking on eggshells. You got these 2 shows, you got 2 separate titles, and all this other nonsense because one guy is holding the company hostage.
I guarantee you, Danielson versus Ricky Starks was a lot better than Punk versus Ricky Starks was going to be.
No question.
Ain't even close, player.
So we got that too. So, I think that Zach, what do you think his legacy is?
His legacy is, his return was, I'd say, one of the most momentous in wrestling history, and his exit was just a headline for the week.
No, I'm not going that far. I will always remember where I was for both spots. Always.
Oh, I'll remember where I was for Money in the Bank in 2011, too. I remember where I was for the Pipe Bomb promo. CM Punk burned bright, man, and then he flamed out. It was a strange return, but extremely newsworthy, extremely entertaining, and we got a few good matches out of it. You know, him versus MJF was a good feud.
Yeah,
and they had that dog collar match that was fucking great.
Agreed.
So he burned real bright.
He burned them bridges too on the way down. Like
yeah, he sure did. He was something else. R.I.P. Just for the record, that's not me threatening him or anything.
Yes, please.
I just don't think we're going to see him for a while. I don't see him in WWE.
No, he needs to take a couple plays off.
Okay, so
the Impact Zone.
So,
dude, somebody said that was so fucking comedy.
Him and Ace Steel.
I fell the fuck out. I was like, man, that shit happens. I'm on the floor.
Okay, so let's talk about this Gunther-Chad Gable match for the Intercontinental Belt that headlined Monday Night Raw. So I had not watched Raw yet, and Joey texted us and said, what you guys think of that main event last night? And I was like, ooh, that says to me that Chad Gable won. And then, so I was watching it, didn't know I was thinking he was going to win, and his family was in the front row, and I was like, oh, this motherfucker's going to win, and I bet it's awesome, and I bet that's why Joey texted me. Then Gunther goes over clean. Gunther takes Chad Gable's best, and Chad Gable's kid is crying in the front row. It was, dare I say, tremendous. This match was great. It subverted expectations, and Walter/Gunther goes out there, has another great match, and Chad Gable gets to cut loose. Let Gable cook. What you think about this, Zach?
Man, this is one of those where it looks good on paper, and it's just as good, if not better, in the execution. It was great. The daughter thing was, I was surprised at that, but outside of the rest of it, I was unsurprised, but I was definitely very fulfilled. They built the entire show around this match and around the Intercontinental title legacy, and they were showing Intercontinental champions from the past. They let Gable and Gunther have really great promos, just hyping up the match. The whole thing was built around it, and they just had a fucking awesome. I mean, this is Gunther's best opponents are smaller dudes who are really strong. They can also throw him around occasionally. Like his matches with Tyler Bates is probably my favorite Gunther match of all time. Yeah. It's weird that I call him Gunther now with no hesitation. I used to firmly take a hard line on that, and I'd only call him Walter. But yeah, it was awesome.
No, I agree with the Walter/Gunther thing. I was right there with you, and that's kudos to Triple H. He has hypnotized us to calling him Gunther without even hesitating at this point. Kudos there. Kudos to Chad Gable. He's in line with Ilya Dragunov, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, guys that are small in size but can match up with Walter/Gunther with the best of them. So in that scenario, you got to give him credit. Obviously, Gunther, those three moves that he put on the end to finish the match on Chad Gable, I was just like, oh. I'm like, God damn. And then he stacked him real high. I was like, oh, yeah, this Joker's over. Gunther is just
amazing.
He's a freak of size and speed where he shouldn't be doing stuff like this, especially running drop kicks and shit like this, jumping off the top rope. Guys his size ain't supposed to be doing that shit. He does it with
plus
ease.
Crazy combinations and little 30-second chunks out of matches that are just really creative.
Winning the match clean as a heel, always a big fan of that. And then at the end, when they showed
Triple
his
H will put
daughter-
over a heel.
Yeah.
That is a
That's
big
Triple H
difference.
thing. Yeah. And then the daughters at the end, that made my little dark soul feel a little warm for like 30 seconds. I felt bad for her. They immediately went
As
over
the
there.
father
and
of a daughter.
I was just like, oh, she's boo-hooing her ass off. I'm just like, damn, that sucks. It made Chad Gable look better than he's ever had because it was a range of emotions where, he was looking great in the match, but he ultimately loses. You see his daughter, so now he's like a dad at this point. Gunther looks like, the badass that he is now, who's going to beat Gunther at this point. He's going to add some more days onto his record reign. It was just a really well done show all about the Intercontinental Championship. And they went out there and just had a banger-ass match. It was a really good fucking Raw.
Man, I just love that this was the main event and that they built the entire show around
Without question.
I mean, that makes Chad Gable look great, and it gives Gunther a spot to really shine. This match was really fun. The other big news from Raw was Jey Uso. Well, this was announced on the pay-per-view, but Jey Uso is now on Raw, comes out and cuts a babyface promo. Sami Zayn comes out. They hug it out. A lot of hugging in wrestling lately.
Dude, fans are loving the hugging it out. I noticed that. As soon as they hugged, I was like, this is like the biggest pop you can get.
Yeah, I know. It was like people love these guys.
But it's the two arguably biggest stories that we have in wrestling right now. MJF, Adam Cole, baby, and the Bloodline in whatever form you have going on, whether it's Jimmy now doing some outlandish shit that makes no sense, Roman being Roman, Jay going over to Raw. It's still all Bloodline in some form or fashion.
And they did a really good job of telling the story that McIntyre has unfinished business with Jey Uso because he was in the Bloodline. They just fought not that long ago. Cody's used his political clout to bring him in. The other thing was Dom has that really weird conversation with him at the end of Raw, so they can go a bunch of different ways. And it's like weekly fucking storytelling. Who fucking knew? Now I want to see what happens on Raw. I want to see who Jey Uso's first program is.
Damn that, who's going to SmackDown?
Yeah, there's that too. Ciampa did passed Jay in the back and went into Adam Pearce's office, so I'm thinking it's Ciampa that goes to SmackDown.
I'm sticking with Cody.
Oh, wow. That would really load up. Yeah, I guess Ciampa wouldn't be a fair trade for
Hell
Jey
no.
Uso.
Hell no.
This is why I suck at fantasy. So, Zach, anything to say about that?
No, I didn't realize there was a trade. I guess I just missed that.
Yeah, you didn't miss much.
Yeah, I was about to say, you'll see it on the back end when you watch SmackDown if you watch this weekend.
If you have a chance, I would recommend going to NXT and watching Butch versus Axiom, which was in the Heritage Cup tournament.
That was really good.
Yep, really, really good. Both those guys can go. Ali and Dragon Lee with Dom as the special guest referee.
That motherfucker ain't shit.
I know, it's pretty funny. And
his haircut is so. Dom's level of heat that he got was that Raw? I guess it was Raw.
Woo.
He couldn't. It was more. He always gets a lot of heat. Like they were all laughing at how much heat he was getting.
That motherfucker couldn't speak. He was just like, all right, man, just give it up. Somebody else needs to talk. Tom is not getting a word in edgewise.
He is a damn near perfect wrestling character.
Oh my God, it's so I had this argument with this guy on Twitter. I'm just like, dude, you don't get it. Okay, Dom is the dare I say the perfect chicken shit heel.
No, it's like he was made in a lab. It's like he's a Nepo baby who was like really, really soft with his dad, and now he acts like he went to prison. He's got a teardrop tattoo.
Dude, I'm dead.
And he follows around Rhea Ripley and calls her mommy, and everybody fucking hates him.
A bowl mullet.
Yeah. He's such a slime ball.
Dude, I love fucking Dom Mysterio, man. The best
he's unbelievable.
The best thing they ever did was separate him from his daddy because no disrespect to Ray. None.
No, you watch. Dom is going to be around for a long time. He's going to be a manager when he gets older and shit.
And the reason why he can is because if you kept him underneath Ray, you would always have that comparison. Once you broke him away and built him up, and they had that WrestleMania match, everybody looked at him differently from that point on.
Yeah, it was great. I don't even think about him as Ray's kid anymore.
No, he's Dominic Mysterio at this point.
Yeah. And so Von Wagner, I guess Braun Breaker killed Von Wagner at the end. Like, it cut to black, and Baron Corbin's like, oh, my God, he did it. And it's like, okay, so I don't know what happened. And then
you remember last week? I actually watched NXT last 2 weeks, and he was supposed to bash his head in with a chair, but they shot the camera angle wrong, so he just hit the ground with a chair.
Yeah.
So they were just like, we're just going to make it go to black. We're just making this thing.
Yeah, you're going to fuck around. We throwing this motherfucker through the wall, and we are done. It's like, well, damn, that's quick.
Okay, and then we had AEW Dynamite, moving on to odds and ends. Orange Cassidy comes out and cuts a promo. We got AR Fox versus John Moxley. I don't know how these guys get these. Was this an open challenge and AR Fox answered it? How did he earn the shot?
Dude, get this. AR Fox has had 13 matches in AEW. He's lost 12 of them. They've been championship matches.
What was that last part?
Eight of them have been championship matches.
God damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sakura comes out and basically, makes Chris Statlander look good. Roderick Strong is doing some work as this guy sitting around with the neck brace with the Kingdom behind him and their hands are always on him. What do you think about Roderick Strong's new character, Zach?
Oh, I love it. At first it was very, very annoying, like the jealous boyfriend kind of thing. But he's like taking it to the next level, and the neck brace thing is very pro wrestling. I love it.
Jason, what do you think?
When he came to the ring with the neck brace on and then they took it off, and I know we had talked about this before, but this was the first time I visually saw it. I thought this was one of the funniest fucking things I've seen in a hot minute, and they put it back on immediately after the match. I'm like, God damn, okay. I get this Roddy Strong angle. I didn't necessarily like it at first. I was like with 3 Beer on this one. It just sounded, he just felt annoying like the jealous boyfriend. Now, you reminded me that he's a good wrestler, and now you've added this little twist to his character a little bit. Yeah, he's a little jealous, but
I remember when Undisputed Era was super hot, I remember thinking, and us having the conversation on this show about Roderick Strong's might be the best one of them in the ring.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people are big Kyle O'Reilly fans, but I kind of was partial to Roderick Strong. Anyway, I like the story they're telling with him. I think it's really fun.
I'm curious to see where it goes ultimately.
We talked about MJF and Joe. Just to stop on it for a second, MJF just has morphed into a babyface so easily and is so over as a babyface. The crowd was a little split at the beginning of this because he did get a Joe's gonna kill you, and then Joe just took one little jab at the crowd and it was over.
Yep.
That was all they needed, and they were all MJF after that, and they were chanting, Max is gonna kill you, Max is gonna kill you. Very fun stuff. Jason, did you love this segment?
Yeah, it's the only thing I really don't like is that Joe's a champion at this point, so it doesn't feel like there's.
Yeah. Can't see him holding the ROH TV title and the AEW heavyweight title.
That's the only thing. He feels like a threat anyway. He would feel more of a threat if he wasn't a champion. It feels like there's the safety net. But the promo itself, I thought both guys got their jabs in. Joe, like you said beforehand, when the crowd starts to get on you or maybe turn on you, however you want to call it, Joe is just sidesteps that shit so smoothly. It's like he's done this before, and nothing can rattle him at this point. It was the perfect guy to put across MJF because we've seen other guys wilt across from MJF. That's a heavy, bright light that he shines on the person that's across from him. So it takes someone that is just smart enough to avoid these landmines.
Zach, how much did you love this segment?
I thought it was great. I think the only downside is in the middle, whenever they were just talking about the size of each other's dicks. So it's like, this is like a literal dick measuring contest. But they're very clever, and outside of that, it was very fun. I look forward to more of this. More weeks.
Yeah. My favorite segment of the night was Swerve and Hangman Page. Nice. I thought Swerve was so good in this, and I fucking loved it, and I want to see these guys wrestle now. Jason.
Dude, Swerve sliced this motherfucker up. I'm
sure
like,
did.
God damn, okay, all right, that's enough. That's enough. This was a fight to be like, all right, you like, break this shit up. Swerve's beating him up too much. But I can't say I totally disagree with it now, where is this going to lead to something for Swerve? We've been asking for a push with Swerve. He can obviously go in the ring. We've got him a character now. This feels like a feud that's non-Keith Lee related. So hopefully all of these things get him to that next level, whatever that next level is, whether it's the international title, the AEW championship, obviously is the end game. But there's room for Swerve to elevate, and this might be the guy to help him do it. Page is a former world champion, but if you remember that or not.
Zach, what'd you think?
I was not as harsh on Page, but it was like a nothing happening promo. It almost like he went out there with no plan. It was just like, hey, Adam, you got to go out there and talk. And he's like, oh, fuck, I guess so. I'll do that. Yeah, it's fine, though. Swerve is future AEW world champion, and they planted the seed here. He said I would be. I loved like the promo that Swerve gave Page because he's like so right about everything.
So awesome.
Yeah,
it completely worked. Erin was sitting in the room with me, and she was like, "Oh, so he's." What did she say? It was really funny. It was like really like she completely got it, but she didn't like that Swerve fat shamed Hangman by saying he looked like he put on a couple lbs. Well, didn't like that.
Motherfucker getting a little comfy.
Didn't yeah, but that's from the drinking. That's not from the eating. Swerve said it was from eating stuff.
Whatever, man. Shit, getting a little too comfy up at the top, huh?
And then
it was Clubber Lang Rocky from Rocky 3. That's what it reminded me of.
The main event was Darby Allin versus Nick Wayne. Now, listen, I love Nick Wayne being on TV. I think if I can watch an 18-year-old play basketball or play football, I should be able to watch an 18-year-old wrestle. I don't know if he should be wrestling Darby Allin in the main event of Dynamite. This is below Darby. There is no reason to have that kid in the main event. I'm sorry.
I mean, I watch 18-year-olds get fucked by seasoned professionals all the time, and this was maybe one of my favorites.
Did you like this?
I don't know. It was fine. They have good chemistry together. They work well together.
Tough enough ass match. It was tough enough.
It was fine. I mean, it accomplished the goals it needed to accomplish. Outside of that, it probably shouldn't have been the main event, but I get the why. So that's fine.
I got a funny text from a friend of ours that said, Raw has Gunther versus Gable. Dynamite has two skinny nerds fake fighting. Come on, man.
Shots fired. Now, look, I get it. I get it, especially when you look at it from that aspect.
You know what the legends of the main event at TBS television? Come on.
It's two guys that Tony Khan wants to push and likes.
I know. Okay.
I get it.
I was happy for Nick Wayne getting a main event on the A show.
Sure.
Like, that just Dynamite's like their A show, and he was main eventing it. That was pretty cool.
So in that scenario, it checks those boxes. Fair enough. I don't have a problem with that. It's just one time. It probably won't happen for a while again.
All right.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Anything else that you boys want to talk about before we get into some birthdays?
Dude, I'm done.
All right. Molly Holly is 46. Raven is 59. Brian Pillman Jr. is 30. Sarah Logan is also 30. Don Morocco
I believe he's RIP.
74, Matt Morgan. I loved his finisher. It was called the Carbon Footprint, and it was a big boot. He is 47. What happened to him? Where's Matt Morgan?
Last time I remember, I thought he was in Impact, and for whatever reason, he kind of just fell off the map.
He was kind of a big deal on Impact for a while, or on TNA. Paul Heyman is 58. Road Warrior Animal,
RIP.
63, and Baron Corbin is 39.
Wow. I actually kind of like Baron Corbin now.
Yeah, he's
Kinda.
good. He's good.
Oh, I'm not trying to give him too much.
Hey, everybody, we know there's a ton of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to ours. For Amelia the Cat, for Xander the Cat, for Edna the Baby, for Reba
Double
the
check.
Dog, for Aaron
Check.
the Wife, for
Check.
Vice, for Tender Mahal,
Check,
for
check.
Murray the Murray Man Murray, for
Double check.
Lucha Chris, for Patriot Pat,
Triple check.
for 2 Beer, 3 Beer Zach Paulman,
Check.
for Jason Cornelius Bell.
Konnichiwa, bitches.
I am Bill Vagey.
Check.
And never, ever, ever forget to boo the heels. Wait a minute.
Bitch. Yeah, you fucked that all up. But that's
I
okay.
did. I got
Yeah.
in my head
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Hey,
see?
boo the heels,
Boo,
bitch.